Good morning. I'm Dr. Tisha Roy, presenting on Ecofeminist resonance in Instapoetry. Today we live in a world that's defined by digital media. Instagram wields remarkable influence as a powerful tool for shaping social narratives. It's a platform that is used by the young, techno-savvy generation of writers whose readership is a wide social community. Gorick Ekmark, in the research work titled The Eco-Critical Instapoet, opines about Instapoetry that it paradoxically thrives on the restrictions of Instagram, the freedom of the internet, resulting in a meta-modernist balance, often between two poles, seriousness and irony, hope and melancholy, unity and plurality, self and other. We know that Instagram consists of poems that fit within the square Instagram frame. It is written in stylized font, accompanied by illustrations, drawings, or doodles. It is screenshotable, and popularly the poems are called Instapoetry. It's a liberal space that supports democratization through online interaction of fans, followers, and users via a global network. This confessional mode of poetry writing, used especially by women, facilitates an extensive distribution of feminist ideals, discussions, online protests, and hashtag movements. The fourth wave of feminism has a digital front and spotlights cultural obstacles for women, abuse, injustice, inequality of genders in subtler areas. Social media raises awareness and helps create a sense of solidarity and a unified mindset among the individuals worldwide, inspiring collective activism, shaping public discussions, and influencing policy. Ekmark cites Verbeek's mediation theory, which is an interaction between humans and technology, creating new dimensions of social media which was not intended or designed in technology but emerged from it. The comment section of social media exceeds functionality and usership and has become a part of Instapoetry experience. It means that just like telescope, camera, ultrasound help to perceive the world, Instagram helps to perceive the human world and social interactions. Now, in the context of pressing global issues of climate change and global degradation, the rise of ecofeminism has become increasingly prominent in the ever-evolving landscape of Instapoetry. This paper begins with an overview of ecofeminism, delves into the multifaceted aspect of this phenomena, and the intersection between environmentalism, feminism, and digital culture. It seeks to discuss the theoretical grounds of connection between women and nature. It analyzes popular Instapoets like Rupi Kaur and Nikita Gill from an ecofeminist perspective. Ekmark Gorick backgrounds the historical meeting point between environmentalism and feminism with roots in 17th century poetry of Aphra Behn and Margaret Cavendish, where they identified a close interaction between women's suffering and earth suffering. In 1974, the term ecofeminism was coined by Francoise Debonne to highlight the feminist revolutionary spirit in connection with ecological concerns. Carolyn Merchant opines how scientific revolution led to the degradation of nature and the rise of patriarchy. Warren discusses health risks arising due to the ramifications of environmental issues as pollution, toxins, being more hazardous for women and children. Greta Garth considers critical feminism as feminist activism for peace, animal rights, and nuclear power, and against nuclear power. McLaren refers to this fresh feminist zeitgeist of young women demanding political, social, environmental change with the support of social media. Ecofeminists believe that oppression of women and destruction of nature are two sides of the same coin, rooted in patriarchal system that values power and domination over cooperation and care. Poems with ecological concerns have increased and have come to existence with the word ecopoetry as popularized in the journal Ecopoetics and Scott Bryson's edited work Ecopoetry, A Critical Introduction. Ecopoem is a nature poem, and according to James Ingleworth, it defines a way that implies responsibility. Ecofeminism adds the commitment of feminism to environment, emphasizing the way patriarchal society treats women and nature with unjust dominance. Ecofeminism has also branched out into radical feminism that seeks to end association between women and nature as commodifiable things, while cultural feminism encourages the association towards a more sensitive understanding. Another recent term in the study of ecological concerns is the Anthropocene, a new geological epoch that has been marked by significant human intervention in Earth's natural system, resulting in environment crises like climate change, deforestation, extinction of species, etc. It spotlights how the scale and speed of human activity has surpassed the capacity of the planet to absorb and regenerate resources. This condition has brought renewed interest in sustainability as people realize that it is a collective problem and needs solution. Karen Warren, in Environmental Philosophy, defends Rosemary Ruther's statement that environment is a feminist issue. So what makes it so? What is the connection between the domination of women and the domination of nature? Karen identifies 8 women-nature connections. She states that the main project of ecofeminism is to make visible these women-nature connections and where it harmful to dismantle them. These 8 connections are: first, the historical connection, wherein it was believed that the older world order was characterized by a connection between humans and nature, and it was replaced by a mechanized worldview that brought exploitation of nature and subordination of women. Secondly, the conceptual connection. A conceptual framework is a socially constructed set of basic values, attitudes, and assumptions that shapes and reflects how one views oneself and others. It is oppressive when it explains and justifies relationship of domination and subordination, and patriarchal when it subordinates women. The basis of the twin domination of women and nature is value dualism. They are seen in opposition of man-woman, reason, emotion, mind, body, culture, nature, rather than complementary. Another conceptual connection lies in the difference between the understanding of sex as biological and gender as a social construct. These differences in personality and formation differentiate women's bodily experience like childbearing and birth, connecting them more to nature than men. Thirdly, experiential connection uncovers health and risk factors borne more by women and children due to the presence of radiation, pesticides, toxins, and pollutants. Animal experimentation, hunting, rape, abuse are incidents that target women and nature more. Fourth, symbolic connection. Ecofeminism records the devaluation of women in religion, art, theology, and literature by using language symbols that naturalize women and feminize nature. Nestor King questions whether the use of gendered language to describe Mother Nature is potentially liberating or simply a rationale for continued subordination of women. Language often uses words like animal terms for women, and nature is described in a feminine manner. Fifth, epistemological connections. This believes in a need for ecofeminist epistemology, which critiques rationalism in Western philosophic tradition and develops ethical knowing of self that does not maintain or perpetuate harmful value dualism and hierarchy. Women have intrinsic knowledge of forestry, farming, water collection, food production, etc., and it is necessary to consider this in the knowledge system from a feminine standpoint. The sixth connection is a political connection. It is a grassroots level political movement motivated by pressing pragmatic concerns. It deals with the issue of women and health, science, technology, treatment of animals, anti-nuclear and anti-militant awareness. Number 7, ethical connections. It emphasizes the need to have theories and practices that are not male biased but are developed on ecofeminist ethics of care, kinship, rights, social ecology, and bioregionalism. Eighth one, the theoretical connection. As feminism is an umbrella term that has various perspectives, it is important to identify how ecological concerns fit into that theory. Ecofeminism on Instagram is defined by the functional characteristic of the medium. Especially being free from editorial superiority and censorship, poets can function independently. They can also call out against censorship and promote their own activism. Collective feminist empowerment is embodied in media, having to pull back on the censorship put on the poet Rupi Kaur's Instagram photograph and post on a project on menstruation. She garnered support over the internet in her favor, which was a great number considering that she had more than 1 million followers. Again, women in Egypt were influenced by the Instagram poet Sabah Kodir, and they revealed incidents of abuse and torture on Instagram. Poetry thus can influence change, as Rachel Carson's Silent Spring was able to influence a new legislation. Let us take a closer look at some Insta poems that delve into eco-feminist themes. The first poem that I have considered is from Rupi Kaur's post, which is found in her collection Homebody. I read, "Being the loudest on Earth's playground doesn't make us any more important than the dirt we crush beneath our feet. We are nothing except air and fire and water and soil. We are a people who forget what we are made of. Of people who talk about weather as if it's mundane and not magic, as if it's the oceans and not holy water, as if it is the sky and not the vision, as if it is the animals, as if the animals are not our siblings, as if nature is not God and rain is not God's tears, as if we are not God's children, as if God is not the earth itself." The poem was written as an aftermath of wildfires and pollution in Canada. There were certain ecofeminist ideas reflected here. Firstly, the association between humans and nature is emphasized, which reminds that we belong to the same ecosystem and how we are no better than nature. It aligns with the interconnectedness that is ecofeminism's core idea. Secondly, the portrayal of nature as sacred and magical. Reverence and worship of nature is emphasized in the lines, "Oceans are like holy water and animals are our siblings." God and divinity are mentioned in a spiritualized treatment of nature. Thirdly, it is also a critique of human cruelty and arrogance in the context of nature. The poem highlights how mankind trivialize nature and forget that our origin also is from the very elements of nature. Recognizing this is very essential to maintain the harmony with nature. In the post accompanying the poem, she wishes to take some action against the degradation of nature, but she doesn't know what to do, and so she determines, "So I will write about it." She feels the need to take ownership and responsibility. Another poem titled Green and Blue. "Look at what they have done. The earth cried to the moon. They have turned me into one entire Bruce." This short poem from the collection Sun and Her Flowers, where earth is personified as lamenting to the moon what humans have done to it. She gives voice to the earth's pain by describing the bruise which is caused by humans. In this collection, the earth is referred to with a feminine imagery which shows how the exploitation of women are connected to the degradation of earth. Similarly, the moon is also a feminine image, and in the poem it reflects a helpless lament. In the accompanying post, she narrates her meeting with environmental leader David Suzuki of how he could transform the way we think about nature as our relative. The poem Rest in Peace. "I'm sorry, this world could not keep you safe. May your journey home be a soft and peaceful one." This poem, again from the same collection, is a wish prayer. It regrets how the world has become an unsafe place and communicates a deep sense of grief that a close person could not be kept safe and protected. Home is used as a metaphor for nature, which shows the interconnectedness. It aligns with the eco-feminist thought that earth should be respected and treated as a nurturing home. The poem communicates a desire for a peaceful stay in the world and yearning for protection that is a basic need for women. From the collection Homebody, Rupi Kaur. "We have ruined our only home for convenience and profit, neither of which will be useful once the earth can't breathe." This poem takes responsibility for the human being's exploitative treatment of nature, the harm we have done by being profit-driven, giving more importance to convenience and growth at the expense of ecological sustainability. Again, Earth here is personified in its being suffocated and unable to breathe and being assaulted violently. It highlights ecofeminist themes of the condition of the earth, the cruelty of humans, and the destruction of earth. The poem Betrayal is also on similar lines, how we have turned our backs from nature. We forget our connection that she strongly believes in, I quote, "I am of the earth, and to the earth I shall return once more." Nikita Gill is also another famous Instagram poet with feminine streak in her works. Many of her poems do reflect the sense of concern regarding environmental destruction and social justice. I quote the poem, "Where were you when the earth burned? They will ask, and we will explain to them about Brexit and Trump and fake news and billionaires and corporate taxes and big oil, and how it wasn't just the rainforest burning, but Afghanistan and Syria and Yemen, and Kashmir and Sudan were bleeding too, and ice caps were melting, and the coral reef was dying, and the tigers and leopards and elephants were going extinct, and of course, so many of us were fighting. But the well of truth was poisoned so strongly, and how we did not listen to the environmentalists and scientists on time. Because how does one fight monsters when there are an eternity of them? To fight, we promise, we tried. Where were you when the earth burned? They will ask, and we will hold out our hands. Take theirs and say, we too, like you, were hoping, praying, wishing, and just trying to survive." This is an evocative poem that talks of natural disasters and specific spots of environmental destruction like Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Kashmir, and Sudan. It underscores the intersectionality of gender, race, environmental concerns, and the need that they must be addressed holistically. She states the well of truth was poisoned and questions how to fight these monsters when there are an eternity of them. Yet the poem ends in hope, wish, and prayer, and an effort to survive. Another of Nikita Gill's poem is titled "A Reason to Live Through the Apocalypse." This is a poem that emphasizes the resilience of the human spirit even during challenging times. From watching the sunrise, walking in the woods, watching birds, night skies, pets, and in all of this celebration of life and nature. I quote, "Sun rises, people you have still to meet and laugh with, songs about love, peace, anger, and revolution, walks in the woods, the smile you exchange with a stranger when you experience beauty accidentally together, butterflies, seeing your grandparents again." Ecofeminism in this poem promotes the intrinsic value and the beauty of nature. Human emotions and natural experience are spoken in the same breath to show how both are equally valuable. It's a poem of hope and beauty and meaning in life. These poets also use nature in a symbolic way. Gill's poem Wolf and Woman uses the symbol of the wolf to express association with nature and a desire to break free from traditional gender roles. The poem reads, "Some days I am more wolf than woman, and I am still learning how to stop apologizing for my wild." The wolf is wild, fierce, and untamed, and by attributing these qualities to the female self, it questions expectations from women to be polite, docile, and submissive. This theme of associating wilderness with female freedom is also seen in her poem Girls of the Wild, which deconstructs the traditional fairy tales with an ideal female protagonist. They are ingrained into girls in a fascinating story form, thus creating stereotypes. Trista Matteer's poem associates the wolf with a boy and is a symbolic representation of violence. I quote, "So the boy is not a wolf, but he bites like one. When you tell people, he just smiles and smiles." This poem reflects how people maintain a facade of innocence and charm while being aggressive or harmful. It shows the complexity of interpersonal relationships, suggesting manipulation and control. Kaur's poem, I Am Water, soft enough to offer life, tough enough to drown it away, uses the symbol of water in a dual way, emphasizing its nourishing qualities as well as its destructive power. As nature represents the coexistence of opposing qualities, so also do women reflect the duality of expectations, the ability to be a life giver and an agent of destruction. Kaur and Gill are two popular poetic voices on Instagram whose works are studied to analyze the influence of poetry on digital media and its users. Unlike traditional publishing, these digital spaces offer a low barrier entry for marginalized voices, which may have been excluded historically from the mainstream. This democratization allows ecofeminist voices to grow in prominence and amplify the urgency of the messages. It also mobilizes followers to take up social causes and advocate rights. Thus, feminism celebrates this new form, and instead of slipping into climate doomism and feeling helpless, it uses poetry to find hope amid the chaos. Instapoetry becomes a way of creating awareness about the world and a way of relating to reality. Emergence of ecofeminism has thus shifted focus from humanity to interconnectedness between humans and nature, and reminds readers to be a part of living reality. To conclude, I'd like to say that although ecofeminism is considered as an autonomous field of study, it is still open to various perspectives. Thank you.